Good morning, everybody. How you doing? Sammy, United People's TV, here for another quiet show, just talking about Manchester United. Nah, let's talk about somebody who hasn't cut his hair. Nah, let's talk about our owner being an absolute prick. Good. It's going to be a nice show. Looking forward to this one. Oh, it's going to be a cracker. I'm going to run through all the latest United news just like I do every single day. And I will be speaking about Thomas Tuchel. That's going to be the sort of leading point to begin today's show before we have a conversation about Ratcliffe, about his comments, about the impact of them. And, well, I'll gauge your opinions. You can let me know what you think in the chat, and I'm sure it's going to be a little bit spicy today. Did anybody recognise, by the way, start the show, the intro, we've updated the intro. I know we had Amram there for a little while, but we've refreshed it with new clips. No one's mentioned it. Just want to see if anybody spotted it. Just another quiet time at Man United. Oh, you know, like, how about we actually win 4 games in a row and go unbeaten for 5 games? Maybe we can just talk about the football then. Never mind. What a ridiculous idea, Sam. That's not what the soap opera of Manchester United does. How insane an idea. Let's see who's here from the mods and the members, and let's get on with today's show. And I'll ask everybody to try and be as respectful as possible in the chat. This isn't... Keep politics out of football, they say, until it gets shoved down your throat by the owner of your football club, and you have no choice but to get involved. Thanks, Jim. Right, let's see who's here. Well, I'm beaten for actually. Is it unbeaten for 9 games? Well, I'm beaten in the last 5. Good morning to Josh. Good morning to Steph. We've got Carl there as well. We've got Maddie. Good morning to you as well. Who else we got? We've got Jace. We've got some members. We've got Miles. We've got Monkton. We've got Liam. We've got Toby. We've got Smee. We've got Rob. We've got Loz. And some non-members. We've got Teklom. We've got Volpez. We've got Asek, Ricky, Mark. Not that Mark Critchley. A different Mark Critchley. And we've got Raoul. Good name, Raoul. Oh, look at that. We're just about, I think we're going to hit 571k in today's show. If there's 11 of you which aren't subscribed by the end of it. Let's see if we can do that. That'll be fun. Yeah. Let's get on with today's show. I want to start with this. With a football club, I don't know who I'd want to relegate more out of Forest and Spurs. I think I'll go Spurs. I think I'll definitely go Spurs. But Forest, my God. Sean Dyche, don't think he's been doing that bad a job there. Was it Nuno was brought in, Poch, boom, sacked. After how many games? Don't know how many games. And now Sean Dyche has been sacked. What an absolutely abhorrent owner. Jeez. Man, imagine working for him. Why would you? Why would anybody go there? I bet you Edu is absolutely fuming. Well, not fuming. Like, you're an idiot, Edu, for leaving Arsenal for this Forest project. I think I'd choose Spurs, but for all intents and purposes, Forest have got to go down this season. Is that your bottom 3? Wolves, Burnley, Forest? Probably. Think it is. Danny Wilson, 35 shots on goal, but it's the manager's fault. I don't know how Forest didn't win last night. It's just peak Forest, really. Probably they're still going to they're going to bring someone in for another 4 games, sack him. And then what is it, Marinakis? He's going to come and make himself owner, manager for the last 4 games. Ultimately, that's what I'd like to see at the end of the story. The relegation battle, the last game of the season. They know that if they win, they can stay up. And Marinakis has actually put himself in as manager, and then they lose 3-0. That's what I would like to see at the end of this story. Thomas Frank getting sacked. Mate, did you see the overlap? Postecoglou was straight on that show. I think he was always lined up as a guest, but because Thomas Frank got sacked, he came in. If they waited another day, they would have got Postecoglou in after Frank had got sacked and Dyche got sacked. The double whammy. That would have been funny. And good morning to you. Dropping in, say hello. Can't stay as I've got solicitor shorty. What have you done? What have you done? But good morning to you, Tom, as well. And good morning to everybody in this community, this inclusive community from all around the world, all United fans. What a place to be. And that will never change. Good morning to you. Thank you for gifting 20 memberships. All of you get in the Discord. We've given away what? We've given away a United shirt. That's packaged up here. There she is. She's ready to go. I'm a man of my word. We have got a lot more to give away down there, which I shall be giving away at some point. And I want to start today's show by, you know what? Talking about things that affect Manchester United. I'll tell you one thing I'm glad that I've already spoken about this. I really wanted to do a manager series on this channel. Remember, it was me, Ronnie and Steve, 2 members of the team. We were speaking about things after Amrin went. We thought, you know, it'd be a really good idea and sort of like very good United People's TV content, the sort of stuff that we love doing. Like doing fact files and all the managers linked with us. Now, you've already know that I did, and we prepared the Glasner video, and it was all ready to go. We were like, we can't put this out. He blew up, exploded with the Crystal Palace board and called them all out. And now we're hearing that Thomas Tuchel is going to be signing a new 2-year contract with England, which is going to rule him out. And if you're looking at volatility as a characteristic of a potential United manager, volatility, that's something that Tuchel had. Spoke out against ownership, kind of fell out with ownership at Chelsea. Looks like he's staying on at England. So the Thomas Tuchel conversation is over before it started, really. And by the way, he definitely would have been one of the candidates because if you remember, he was interviewed by Ineos kind of behind Erik ten Hag's back before the FA Cup final. So he was definitely going to be in contention. Whether or not you thought he was one of the managers that should be in contention, he was going to be. And I imagine that's probably why England have pushed to get this deal signed. So he's out of the equation. Glasner was being lauded as once Amrin was sacked, in the initial sort of outburst of news at that point in time, Oliver Glasner was one of the names that was coming up time and time again. So was Thomas Tuchel. Now, honestly, like, if I was to look at this and sort of explain how I see it at this moment in time, you're kind of looking between these two. And I'm saying that really I'm not saying that in jest, but truthfully, there is not a huge standout, obvious name for United. Say, if we get hit, like Luis Enrique might be that name, but this is a Luis Enrique who is manager of PSG, a manager who has just won the treble, a manager who is pretty much at the top of his game. And if United are looking at best in class and all that jazz, you're kind of looking towards him, but there's no guarantee whatsoever that he would even want the job at all. So I know Gary Neville has mentioned Ancelotti. I don't mean that in a disrespectful way to Ancelotti, but I'm not sure at this point in his career the job of Manchester United and being that manager that drives us back up is going to be something that he can drive himself. Like, as you're down there talking about if Carrick continues, he'll be unsackable. I agree on that. Like, if Carrick we've got 5 games in, 1-4, drawn 1. If that form continues for the rest of this season, then he pretty much will be. But there's no Thomas Tuchel. I think for a lot of United fans, that's something that they probably want. Well, they don't want him at United. Just interestingly, yesterday, you saw this as well from Rob Dorsett from Sky. So United's unbeaten start won't accelerate plans on a new coach. Just want to see what the article said on Sky. May have gotten a result. United's bosses will not accelerate their plans to appoint a new head coach, and Carrick is still not the favourite to be the next long-term boss at Old Trafford. A question I want to ask you then, right, is this. Let's say that Rob Dawson's from Manchester Evening News. If he's correct, and Carrick isn't the favourite, can someone else give me a name that is the favourite? That would be the favourite? I genuinely would be curious to find out about that. I'll let you know. Get it down in the chat and I'll comment on it later. Poor Carrick. Next press is going to be dominated by this. Axel, I suppose in that sense, a good thing is that The next press conference isn't until probably 8 days from now. News moves fast. The reality is, by the time that press conference comes around, you might get a question on it, maybe, but I don't think it's going to be dominated by that. If we were playing at the weekend, it would be, but I don't think it will be because that's just how fast news moves. Dean is saying, I don't think we need to comment on Ratcliffe. Let's stick to what's going on the pitch. I'm going to speak about Ratcliffe, but I'm going to speak about it from the position of me as a Manchester United fan and how it affects Manchester United fan. And that's why I'm pissed off about it. That's why I'm annoyed about it. And we'll speak about that a little bit later. Nagelsmann, Xavi, mate. Nope, not 1% of me. I think United have tried two of the best up-and-coming coaches in Ten Hag and Amrim. Neither of those two have worked. De Zerbi. Hoi, oi, 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 oi. I don't think there's any reasonable United fan that would actually ever mention De Zerbi. Would they? I don't know. I have no idea. I don't think so. Nagelsmann. I suppose it depends what goes on with Germany. It might be a name that you throw in. Either way, it's not going to be Tuchel. So we can move on from him. Debbie saying, Carrick's my favourite. How can they let Carrick go if he carries on doing so well? I don't really think they can. If he continues between now and the end of the season. We've got another 13 games. It's not just a case of sticking with Carrick. It's a case of waiting and finding out. There really is no rush on this. Like, it is February the 12th. We've got the World Cup coming up. So that's Tuchel out of the equation. What other managers are at the World Cup that United might and would consider? Ancelotti. I mean, I don't think he should be considered, but Poch is going to be one of those names. It keeps coming up. I don't know how he's still getting kind of thrown into the conversation in 2026 after what has happened with Poch in these last 2-3 years. Prior to that, maybe, but not now. Carrick would be a cheaper option. This isn't a conversation that's going to be led, or a decision that's going to be led by financial decisions. It's about what's right for the football club. Someone down there saying, Tuchel and Ancelotti can both read gameplay. In fact, Tuchel's head coach at Chelsea, blah, blah, blah. Don't know what that comment means, sorry. What if you give him a 1-year rolling contract? Who are you talking about here? Hansi Flick's being thrown down there? Either way. Like I've said quite a few times, the conversation around Carrick's future, around whether Carrick should get the job, around who's going to be our head coach next year, it doesn't need to be a repeated conversation every single week. Far from it. I think probably reassess at the end of Feb. Let's see what happens in these next few games. What we like going into then. Okay, let's have a conversation again then at the end of March. Got a fair few games then. I feel like it's more a conversation we need to have once a month rather than once a week. Right now, I'm really enjoying what I'm watching under Carrick. Right, yeah, can't rule Steve Bruce out. Don't rule Steve Bruce out. Like, Sean Dyche is available. Postecoglou's still not got a job. Who else is there? Glasner's going to be out of a job as well. Could get Nicky Butt to come. Paul Scholes. Was it Oldham that Paul Scholes was manager of for a little while? Maresca. Yeah, get him in too. Who else has fallen out spectacularly with ownership? That'd be good. Yeah. Anyway. So I'm sure you've seen the news. I'm sure you've seen the quotes. And I'm sure you've seen what our good friend Jim Ratcliffe has been saying. Yeah, Gary Neville, bring him in. I'm going to run through what he said. I'm going to cover what he said. I'm going to speak about what he said. I'm going to interact with the chat as long as you can hold a conversation rather than shouting anything at me. If you shout, you're going to get dusted and you're going to get ignored. Exhausting is what I would call it, superstar. Like, I'll reiterate what I said at the start. Keep politics out of football is what we keep hearing. Well, we try our best to. Until the part owner of our football club comes out with the most ridiculously political statement that you've heard in a long, long time. how we're supposed to keep politics out of football when he's saying shit like these. If you missed the quotes, this is what he said.
At the moment, I don't think the economy is in a good... You can't afford... you can't have an economy with 9 million people on benefits and huge levels of immigrants coming in. I mean, the UK is being colonised. It's costing too much money. It will cause...
It's been colonised?
It'll cause... Well, yeah. The UK is being colonised by immigrants, really, isn't it? I mean, the population of the UK was 58 million in 2020. Now it's 70 million. That's 12 million people.
You met recently with Nigel.
I don't need to speak about that, Whopper. Right. The first thing I want to say about this, right? Someone find me a headline that says Jim Ratcliffe, owner of Ineos, has said that UK has been colonised by immigrants. Someone find me that headline, because you will not find it. It is Jim Ratcliffe, owner of Manchester United. No one really gave a toss what he said as owner of Ineos, but as owner of Manchester United, it carries far more power. And what we are hearing come out of his mouth here is the intentions of a man who owns Ineos. That is his priority here, right? That's the first thing that's really pissed me off about this. You will not find one headline that gives a toss that he owns Ineos. And this is him speaking about Ineos. I think he was out there speaking about the state of his business, right? Firstly, I want to say that. Second, I want to say this. Right, Jim. Let's run through some numbers for you, yeah? So the population was... Let's go back.
70 million. The population of the UK was 58 million in 2020.
58 million in 2020. Well, obviously, he's a billionaire. Like, he knows his numbers. He's completely statistically, factually correct. Oh, no. The population was 58 million. 20 years before. 20 years. How am I supposed to listen to anything that comes out of the mouth of a man who clearly he's so driven by what he thinks? Numbers don't matter. Oh, he got the number wrong, but the point stands still. Mate, Harrison, I feel sorry for you, dude. I really feel sorry for you. Getting numbers wrong and just making stuff up to drive what he wants to say. Hoi, oi, 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 oi. I can't help some people. I really, really can't help. But this is, as I said, this is a man who is the owner of Ineos speaking first. Now, this is a statement from Andy Burnham, Mayor of Manchester, who, by the way, has been working very closely with... This is what I mean. Like, you're really helping Manchester United here. Really helping it, Jim. He's doing something to try and drive some change that might ultimately benefit Ineos. He's not talking here in any way, shape or form to help Manchester United. Andy Burnham has been working with Ratcliffe and with Manchester United on the new stadium project. And now he's laid a little line of division right there. And all of a sudden, the United fan base is divided again. And the arguments are coming out again. He's just a scumbag. I don't give a toss what anyone says down here. I don't know what you come at me with. It's just such a scummy thing to say. It's like, I think Andy Burnham sums it up there sort of better than how I can. There was one line in particular. There. Calling for curbs on levels of immigration is one thing. And that is one thing. You can have an argument about that if you want to. Portraying those who come here as hostile invading force is quite another. I'll tell you what. Well, get rid of all those three. It's disgusting. Filthy immigrants. Get out of my football club. Get rid of our captain. I mean, how many players would have actually started against West Ham? Cobby. Shaw, Maguire. I apologise to anyone sending in super chats, but I'm not going to be reading. I'll see if it's a respectful one down there. I can't see that anymore. It's gone. Manchester United is quite literally one of the biggest global clubs in world football. It's got the most diverse one of the most diverse fan bases you're ever going to get. Has Jim saying this helped Michael Carrick's job? Has it made his job any easier? Has it made anything better for Manchester United? Absolutely not. It's going to be half of that dressing room that is now thinking, well, he's a prick, isn't he? Class. Cheers, Jim. Really appreciate that. But as long as you get your point across for Ineos, happy for you. It's just want a bloody normal week as a Manchester United fan. Even when you actually win 4 games in a row, and you go 5 unbeaten under Carrick, that's now 8 or 9 unbeaten overall. He just comes out with this, whilst also not being in the UK because he's run away and he's an immigrant in Monaco. Let's not even go there, Sam. Not even go there. How? You know what? How do you know? How do we find them? How do we find them? We've had to deal with the Glazers for 20 years. And now we're stepping sideways. Sam, just get on with football. I'm specifically just talking about Manchester United here now. I'm just talking about the ownership of our football club and the impact that ownership can have on a football club. The impact that ownership can have on decisions that are driven into a football club. Under the Glazers, we know full well that for 20 years there was a complete neglect of anything to do with football, really, because all the ownership cared about was commercial, money, and that side of things, which is where the neglect came from years and years and years, to the point where we're kind of, I wouldn't say we reached a point of financial ruin, but we were right on the point where all these cuts had to happen. And like Jim Ratcliffe kind of has the audacity to say this, sort of like, I've been unpopular at United, but we made lots of changes, and it's better. I think we're starting to beginning to see some evidence of that in the football club. Like, mate, we are 5 games in to an interim manager's stint at the football club. I wouldn't really say that's evidence of things paying off. I would say that's evidence of Michael Carrick doing a very impressive job in his first 5 games. But we've sacked 2 managers mid-season under Ineos. Any football club that sacks a manager mid-season is not making decisions correctly. Now, if I was to sit here and praise one thing in particular, I think the recruitment has been significantly better. The proof's in the results in terms of the impact that our players are having in their first season at the football club. I think Amram did a really good job in sort of clearing part of the dressing room out and the wrong attitudes and bringing in better attitudes. But it's a bit of an audacious statement to try and say that, oh, well, it's kind of evidence that we've been doing the right things. And there's actually a lot more evidence that you've not been doing the right things. Hence why we have sacked a manager mid-season, again, and we have an interim manager, and we don't have a head coach, and we won't appoint a head coach until the summer. It's just it's a bit odd. I don't know whether he sees it. I don't know at all. You know what I find a little bit odd as well, man? The statement from the 1958. You see this? No mention on anything to do with the major issue. And I don't know whether this here, right? Is this just due to it being a really badly worded statement from the 1958? Because I've reread it a few times. What I think they're suggesting is that Manchester United's form under Michael Carrick, the fact that he's winning, that's not because Jim Ratcliffe's made a good decision. That's more down to luck. But this is why you've got to reread your statements and understand, because the way that this reads for a lot of people is all they're suggesting is Carrick's form, it's just down to luck. It's got nothing to do with him being a good manager. It's got nothing to do with his tactics or his approach. It's just down to luck. I actually honestly think that it's just a poorly worded statement. But lads, if you are going to release statements, have someone read over it who knows what a statement is, because you've just released something there which can be completely and utterly misinterpreted. That's just really poor. Like if you feel that your words are powerful enough that you need to release a statement on something, then put the effort in to actually make sure that that statement is crystal clear. Really, really badly worded, man. Stupid, I would argue. As I said, it reads like they're just slagging off Carrick and saying, he's got nothing to do with it's just luck. Neil is saying, why isn't Jim Ratcliffe calling out the Glazers over the 1.8 bill bid for the cricket team? Because he's very much the entire time taken an approach of schmoozing the Glazers, because that's pretty much, I don't know, he feels like that's the best way to somehow get them to agree to sell United in the future. I don't know. But mate, Manchester United is a club that has been built over these years on inclusion, on diversity, and some of the greatest players who've ever played for our club were not born in England. And it's just, for an owner to come out with a statement like that will now drive division even further. We'll split a dressing room where, I'm not saying split a dressing room from a Carrick perspective, but you're just throwing a grenade in there. And it's like the manager's job isn't hard enough as it is without owners doing that sort of stuff. Manchester United. All fun and games. Let me see what you're saying down here in the chat. 1958, innit? 1958 could do with a PR manager. Jim Ratcliffe could do with one as well. That's what I think. But anyway, I'm going to end that conversation. I will, look, I'm going to do a lunchtime video today. I'm going to write things down fully and think about everything before I say it. That's what my lunchtime video is going to be. It's not going to be a rant and a rave, and it's not going to be a politically driven video, right? It's going to be a video, and I'm going to be taking this from the perspective of a Manchester United fan and how the comments here from Jim Ratcliffe, co-owner of Manchester United, and I will repeat that sentence I said at the start. Find me one headline that says Jim Ratcliffe, owner of Ineos, says the UK is colonised by immigrants, because you will not find one, because no one will give a toss about Ineos at that point in time, because the power of Manchester United makes his words carry further. I think Jim Ratcliffe actually really likes that part of this whole co-ownership thing. The power and the impact that his words have go a lot further than they did before. Conversations and doors are opened that weren't opened to Ineos and weren't open to him as a billionaire before, but they're open now because he's co-owner of Manchester United. Right, let's go through. There's a couple of little things I want to speak from a footballing perspective. Not too much compared to what we said before. Oh, nice to see. We've lost a couple of subscribers here. Make sure you don't close the door. Boom! If you're unsubscribing, I'm very happy you're unsubscribing from this channel. Space Odie is saying it's a good reminder to all of us. The problem with this club never has, never will be anything but owners. You know. Yeah, you know something that's completely true as well is that good billionaires don't exist. Good billionaires just really don't exist. Never will be one. And we're not going to farm one either. Not sure if you saw yesterday. Let's run through. Yeah, it could be worse. It could be Spurs. Or Forest. Don't know. That's Carlos Baleba. Who's looking particularly upset. What was it 22 minutes he got hooked yesterday? I think so. I think it was 22 minutes. I think he got a yellow card. I think Fabian Herzler was saying after that was the reason he was subbed. But getting subbed after 22 minutes is never a good look for any player. Predictions in the chat now, right? I know I've asked this question a lot, but I think the conversation kind of moves on the more news and more evidence that we get. How do you think United are looking at Baleba now? I think it was Fabrizio who was coming out suggesting that Baleba was Ruben Amorim's top target. Is he still a player that you think United are going to be going after? I don't know. I really don't know. He played pretty damn good with at the AFCON with Cameroon. I think his form has had a bit of an upturn, but not majorly. Like Brighton, lads, you should have sold in the summer because I failed to see how the price of Baleba has not gone down this summer. Well, this season, sorry, ahead of next summer. The Brighton fan base, if you had asked them, would they sell Baleba in the summer just gone? Everybody would have stood in his corner. Nah, hell no, he's one of the best in the world. He's the next Kaiser, blah, blah, blah. They would have all stood behind him, and everybody did. I guarantee if you ask those same fans now, they would take 50 mil and say, see you, move on. I'm going to go down here and read some of your chats out about the football, and it's good that we're talking about the football now. Look, I felt it would be ignorant of me to just pretend that Ratcliffe didn't say anything. But I didn't just want to get stuck into a full argument here. As I said, I will repeat that. Like, I try to keep politics out of football until you can't. And that's not a choice I took. That was a choice that Ratcliffe took. Might be able to get him included in a meal deal at Tesco. Everybody, let me know your meal deal. Boots always do killer meal deals, man. Always like the chicken and bacon sandwich, standard. If you're hungover, get Lucozade. Get the fizzy one as well. Although Lucozade Sport, I'll take that too. Pack of McCoy's steak. Meal deals. Luca, who's part of the research team on the channel, he's German. And his mind is blown by meal deals. He's like, we don't have that in Germany. It's like the best thing ever. The amount of excitement he's shown for meal deals is fantastic. So, Luca, if you're watching, I'll get you a meal deal. It's a bit of a crap present, really. But right, what are you saying about Baleba? Looking at Baleba is a lot cheaper now. No chance for me. Let's just put a poll then, right? Would you still want... Oh, no. Whoops. Would you still want United to go after Baleba? I'm not saying about price on here. There's no conversation about price. It's just, would you want to have that conversation now? Because I think there's quite a few people down here that I don't think would want that. Squad player now if we sign him, says David. 40 mil max. 21 is coming. I see you. That shirt's coming your way. Baleba or Tonali. Mate, that's a pretty poor choice of players. It's Tonali or Anderson. That's your tier one. That's that conversation. Baleba, you drop down. It might be like Baleba or Wharton. I'd probably put Wharton above him, actually. But yeah, Tonali and Anderson, they're just like your absolute top level. Fun fact, says Rob, my dad used to make Lucozade on the Great West Road down by Brentford. That is a fun fact. I do love Lucozade. Man. Oh, fizzy Lucozade when you're hungover. Oh. Très bien. I think price is key, says Big Perm. I suppose, like, price is key. Like, I don't think anybody's going to entertain any bids, really, for Believer that are kind of north of 50 mil now. Kind of feels like 50 mil is your ceiling point. I don't know whether that's a harsh thing to say. I don't think Brighton would agree with that. But I do feel that that's kind of the max that I would want United to go to. And I'm not surprised by this. I'm really not. 230 votes are in. 52% are saying yes and 48% are saying no. It's right down the middle. Right down the middle. I think that's kind of going to be, if I was to ask that question again in, let's call it like a month or two, I imagine that the poll's going to be equally as split. Anyway, I like it for him. He's not having a good time. A little comment from Senny, which I liked. And Senny, by the way, I'm not sure if you enjoyed it, but I both did. Watching Senny against West Ham when we conceded that corner after like 5 minutes. Something like 5 minutes. And he's out there just coming out punching that straight away. I was like, yes. He's done that quite a lot this season. And given how much goalkeepers get surrounded, his success rate on punches is pretty good. Given that it's very easy to balls that up, you know, if I ever tried that, I'd be like, boink, spoon, in my own goal. We will need to learn. And that's... It would have been a harsh lesson if United lost that game 1-0 against West Ham. The draw was probably a fair enough result. And I spoke about it in the latest episode of the pod, by the way. It's me and Dan. It's been dropped this morning on Spotify and Apple. Hope you enjoy it. But the video version is going to be dropped tonight about 7:30, 8 p.m. So if you prefer to wait for the video version, that's coming out tonight. And I don't think Carrick needed that game to learn the better ways to break down a low block, because we all knew going into it that I think this could be a game for Senny. It could be a game for getting balls into the box. It could be a game for early crosses. And that was ultimately how United created all of our best chances in that game. Whether it was Kobe to Casemiro, whether it was Bruno to Xerxes, his header that just went past post, or whether it was Mbumo to Šeško that led to the goal. That was the best way to do it. So if in the future, if we do play against a low block, you best believe that we should be doing that in the first half rather than just kind of like patiently waiting and trying to wait for gaps to appear, because the gaps never appear against a defence which was as disciplined as West Ham. And that credit to, as much as it annoyed me, you have to say credit to West Ham for staying that discipline, because typically if you do that and play like that, you kind of will eventually leave a gap that probably will get exposed. Right, putting this one out. Danny saying, Sam, you sang from the hilltops when we got Jim, even though we got into bed with the Glazers and helped keep them here. Dude, I never, ever, ever, and I'll say this one more time, ever want United to be owned by any state or be one of those pawns of that part of modern football. Never. Am I making myself clear on that? Cool. Does it mean that we've got the No, it doesn't. That's what I mean. Don't know how United find the right owners. But what's going on with Sir Jim now doesn't make me think I was any wrong in saying that shit. And I won't apologise for that. So good luck trying to get that out of me. Anyway, Senny, love him. He's been fantastic so far, as have all three of these. So that's the Brazilian Cunha, the Slovenian Šeško, the Cameroonian Mbumo, and the Belgian Senny. All four of them have been really good signings for United. And at some point over the next probably week or so, we're going to be dropping a lovely little mini doc on all four of our new signings this summer. Because, yeah, there's been so many mistakes made by the ownership of this club. But recruitment is one thing that I think has been improved. And that is a big reason why we're now able to see this shift going forward and the improvement that we're seeing under Carrick. Well, it's not just because of that, but also like look at Šeško in his last few games. At different points this season, we've talked about different new signings being as in form. Mbeumo, November Player of the Month. Cunha in the Arsenal game. And then the Spurs game. Was it Spurs or Fulham? Who scored the first against Spurs? Bruno scored the second. It's really annoying when games come thinking fast. Can't remember it now. I'm sure that Cunha was it was a Casemiro no-look pass. That was against Fulham. Can't remember who scored first against Spurs, though. 0-0. Corner? It was a corner. It was Mbeumo. Yeah, there we go. Just got to think about it. But anyway, Šeško. Yeah, I agree down there. Buzzcut Šeško. Tick. Keep that buzz cut, baby. That's where we're getting the best of you. He's been fantastic. So now, you could probably argue that the most in form of our three new signings, outfield signings, is Šeško, right? And he's done that from the bench. Fair play to him. His 2 goals have earned us 3 points. Winner against Fulham, equaliser against West Ham. Big up to that. And big up to everyone down here. Look, I'll go back to it one more time. Like, just want to talk about the football club. Just want to talk about the players. Want to talk about it may be any issues. We can speak about that going forward. But no, we get dragged into different conversations because, we've got an owner whose priority with the comments that he is making, having absolutely nothing to do with Manchester United, having everything to do with the business that he owns. He is saying those as the owner of Ineos. He is not saying those as the owner of Manchester United. But that's not what any headline will read. Right. So many misspellings of Mbeumo's name. No, it's Mboomo. It's Mbeumo. Anyway. Thank you all for tuning in. I'm going to wrap that one up for today. I knew it was going to be an interesting chat. I'll go back to the poll. We've got 400 votes are in. And 53% of you to end today's show, you are saying no. You don't want United to go after Belieber. He's certainly gone down my list. But so is the price at the same time. We'll find out. I'll be here tomorrow morning, as always. It's Friday, so we're going to have the quiz, latest giveaway. We're going to have the map as well. No games this weekend, but it's Valentine's. And it's Friday the 13th tomorrow. Who's doing what? Don't know what. Well, it's just a normal Friday, really. But anyway, big up to all of you. I'll see you tomorrow, and I'll be here for the lunchtime video too. Oh, actually, and the podcast as well. Double drop today. See ya.